March 19th, business and security, right? That's what today is.
What an elaborate intro. What energy.
GTC is happening this week. That's where I'm at. I'm at GTC. You should look for our GTC coverage.
In the future. Well, so this week was time change week, which has thrown my everything off this entire week for me.
I'm at the literal World's Fair of Tomorrow Technology, and it's probably delightful, but also really scary.
And here's some new technology, and according to some people, this is the new king.
AMD Ryzen 9 9950X3D CPU review. Dominant, no compromise performance. Yes, 16 cores outperforms the Intel 285K in basically every workload. Less power, better memory latency, better gaming performance, better rendering performance. What's not to love? Also, a lot of the operating system changes that were necessary to the 7950X3D has also gotten a lot better since launch because Windows is better. Because Windows had to get better because guess what? The Core Ultra 285 has some of the same architectural constraints. And now Intel and AMD are aligned on, hey, Microsoft, you should make Windows suck less. And it does than a year ago.
But be careful where you buy one.
Amazon customer receives a fake Ryzen 7 9800X3D. It turns out to be a decade-old AMD CPU. Yep, it was an AMD FX, and it's not even the right socket. They just put a sticker over it that made it look like a 9800X3D, and Amazon said, that looks good to us, sounds good.
Ship it.
Yeah. It was shipped from Amazon. Probably a customer bought this, returned it. Amazon thought it was unopened. Amazon was mistaken.
And last week we learned that the Brother printer company did a horrible update.
Seems confirmed. And gaslighting their customers, not great.
They did, the kind of thing that normally we would be talking about HP doing. And apparently the people at HP were like, oh, that's our thing. You can't take that away from us. Quickly do something to regain the headlines.
Firmware update bricks HP printers, makes them unable to use HP cartridges. The Ars Technica headline misses all of the evidence, in my opinion, points to this sequence of events. HP updates have been taking the ability to use third-party cartridges away, but the update doesn't take the ability away immediately because then people post and say and complain. There's a little bit of a delayed effect. Something went wrong here. Possibly, maybe somebody did this deliberately inside HP. I don't know. But something went wrong here with one of these updates where after a time, it bricked the printer entirely. And so HP is working on a fix for that. But even if you're using legitimate cartridges and you've never used a third-party cartridge, in some scenarios, your printer just doesn't work. And it's because HP made a mistake, I think, trying to make your printer more terrible and accidentally did something, and now it just doesn't work at all.
Well, they did succeed in making it more terrible, to be fair.
You know who loves this?
Mission
Brother.
accomplished.
Brother loving these headlines.
But it's not even Brother is kind of like, we're 5 years behind HP. And so what are you doing? It's like, I just want a printer with a reasonably priced ink.
You just pulled that 5 years because you saw it.
Yeah.
The brain works like that sometimes. But yes, in 5 years, this stock has been a bit of a darling, just going up and up and up, and that has not been the case.
Tesla shares plunge 15%, suffering steepest drop in 5 years. Yeah, there's a lot of people that are unhappy. It's I don't know if it was this article, but I was reading a lot about that this week, and some folks are saying that the reason that Tesla's valuation is what it is not because they have the potential to take over the automotive industry in that way, but because they have the potential to have the data for driverless and everything else. And it's like, I don't know.
Well, the design choices can certainly be questioned. Now, we have seen in the past a lot of hit piece articles on this kind of thing that turned out to be maybe a little bit more, but this one, they've got some decent arguments and some decent evidence from the heroic person who tried to rescue these people.
Testimony reveals doors would not open on Cybertruck that caught fire in Piedmont, killing 3. And this is because the mechanical release is not tied to the inside door release. It's a button. And so something went catastrophically wrong, and there was no electrical power to open the door, and the people inside were not familiar with the manual door release, which is somewhere else.
No, I don't think they were in any... they were, it was filling up with... I don't think they were unconscious, but, if you're in a car that's on fire,
Yeah.
are you really thinking about that?
Yeah.
So there was a bystander who ran over, tried to open the door. You guys remember the bulletproof window demo?
Yeah.
They're like, oh no, the bulletproof windows. The one that he broke on stage, that was just an aberration. This guy used a branch, used a tree branch to break into the car, like physically just beat his way in and drag one person out. And there was another girl who he was almost ready to get out, but then the flames leapt up and she recoiled away.
Oh, that's like nightmare fuel. Like you're gonna be dreaming about that forever.
Yeah, that guy's gonna remember that for a long time. So maybe maybe manual doors. Maybe we can keep those.
Yeah.
Not a terrible thing. But many Tesla owners who bought them because they wanted to make a political statement suddenly don't like that political statement. Maybe that's a bad reason to buy a car.
Tesla owners are desperately trying to disguise their cars. There's some amazing kits on Amazon where you can make it look like an Audi or my favorite one
There's
was
no pictures in this article.
somebody
We got paywalled.
somebody that had a Cybertruck just got a Toyota decal and just put on the back of
But
the
it was like it's so
Cybertruck.
obviously
Yeah.
not. I do like the ones where it's like, I got this before all this. Please don't like graffiti my car.
If you turn off JavaScript here on rollingstone.com, you can see those pictures. But we can't see them right now. And
Oh, I have a lot of thoughts on this one.
It's like this is Wendell bait.
embattled Intel, they've got to do something, and they have made a choice.
Intel appoints Lip Bhutan as CEO to orchestrate turnaround to struggling chipmaker. Stock jumps 12%. Now, the one thing here I think is that he's replacing Pat Gelsinger, who left 3 months ago, or was fired 3 months ago by the board. This guy is very smart, knows what he's doing, comes from the right background. He might be just the right guy for Intel. But again, he used to be on the Intel board, and then he left. And, why did he leave? Is this the board admitting? Like, I would love to know how he aligns with some of the thinking of Pat Gelsinger and the other kinds of things. I don't know anything about his agenda or what he's got planned or what he sees as Intel's problems, but I would love to have more insight on that and to know more, to know if this is going to be a good thing or not. I do think that he will probably be against breaking up Intel and selling it off for parts, which I think would be a crime against humanity, but we'll see.
And we have more bad news if you are a company who is making smart products, because either people are too poor or they've caught on that they don't need to buy these very often.
Global smartwatch sales fall for the first time. Not even making the crown clicker thingy a different color would entice people to buy things, because it's like, oh, you're obviously buying the new Apple Watch because it's got the red crown dial thingy now, which is that's the dirty trick that Apple does when it's like, nobody needs to buy a new iWatch because the new iWatch is not a lot different than the old iWatch.
Interestingly, sales picked up in China, and BBC attributes that to Chinese giving their young children smartwatches.
Was it to monitor where they are?
Whether it is or not, that's what's going to happen.
Well, right. But there are a lot of I think this is happening more in the States too. Like I know some parents who it's like, oh no, I track my kid everywhere they go. And I'm like, can't you just let your kid have a little bit of freedom? Like just a little.
No.
I mean, look at our government.
Uh-huh.
We can say to them, can't we just have a little bit of freedom?
No, never.
And hit some real bad news. Now this is straight from the press release. They are they delicately approach this, but the numbers don't lie.
iRobot reports its fourth quarter and full year 2024 financial results. It's bad. They're hemorrhaging money.
Look at this clever little deception right here. It's like, well, wait a minute. These numbers seem to be... Oh, wait, you put 2023 on the right and 2024 on the left.
Womp, 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 womp.
They have to read that in reverse. Yeah. And it's bad.
It's about to get much worse because at GTC, you're probably watching the other GTC coverage, and we've got these humanoid robots where they're just like, hey, look, you can just tell the robot to sort your laundry, and it does. And they're going to be $35K by the end of next year.
And we are all going to be sitting in the dark enjoying our robots because they're going to destroy the power grid.
Amazon, Google, and Meta support tripling nuclear power by 2050 because, oh Lord, we need all the electricity. Please, 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 can we go back to 3 cents per kilowatt hour electricity?
Are we going to have to like there's a lot of infrastructure to get power to our homes that has not been upgraded in a long time.
No.
They finally fixed the downed power line by the pine tree near my house. They didn't fix the pole, but they did fix the line that was on the ground.
Krista, what makes you think they're going to be sending that power to your home?
That's true. Yeah, where I live, absolutely not.
Yeah, you're going to be on your own for
Everything.
solar.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to invest in a solar system.
I mean, that's kind of where we're headed. Is like the power company does not care. You would be better off just collecting your own solar and using less power. It's like, oh, I need more power. Oh, sorry about your luck.
Well, the whole like not having functional door opening, mechanical door opening is something that actually the industry has already learned this lesson because Tesla wasn't the first one to do it. It's a bad idea.
Volkswagen to bring back physical buttons to all vehicles because everybody was losing their mind from frustration.
A screen is just a bad interface. Like when you're driving, you don't need to be looking at a screen.
Even when you're not driving. It's annoying. Now, I remember back when I was in college, they used that organic substrate for the lasers and like CDRs and stuff. And in a dirty dorm room, if one of those hit the floor, it had a shelf life of like 2 days. You had to get to it quick. But it turns out over at Warner Brother, when they should have been, the manufacturing process should not have been the organic dyes, they may have cut some corners.
They curdle like milk, and Warner Brothers DVDs from 2006 to 2008 are rotting away in their cases. They will replace some of them. They won't replace all of them because they don't have inventory of all of them. And they will not give you a refund because they are sociopathic criminals. I think because of that, that should okay. It's like, oh, we're not replacing that? Oh, here's a file. You can just download this one that we're not replacing. That should be okay under copyright law.
I know we could find a great high-quality rip of all those. But they will give you another title. Like if they can't replace your title, they'll give you another movie.
Oh,
that's so nice of them, I guess.
You're not going to replace my Tale of Two Cities with,
Shrek.
Same kind of thing, really.
That is our lone design story this week.
Apple set to unveil boldest software redesign in years across its entire ecosystem.
Which I don't think this is actual screenshots of. I think this is just made up.
Is it?
Like it might be with the existing UI. It's not the current one because they haven't released it yet. They said that it might come out in June.
Rumor mill.
Yeah.
So what do you think the odds are, over under, that Apple doesn't bring these updates to older devices? You have to upgrade to a newer device.
The article mentioned that they were trying to make everything more uniform, and that was part of the problem is that things were not uniform across all their devices.
I'm a cynic, and especially when it comes to Apple. And I think the reason that Apple will do this is to make a reasonable differentiation. It's like if you bought the M1 MacBook, the M4 MacBook is not really all that tempting, maybe a little. Certainly if you had the M1, the M2, and the M3 were not tempting. The M4 is maybe a little more tempting. But I think this is the problem that Apple finds itself in, is a lot of people are not interested in giving them thousands of dollars. So how do you deal with that? You make the crown button red. And then it's like, oh, yes, you have the new device. I see. Yes, I too have the new device. And then you go full business card scene from American Psycho.
Now, I'm someone who doesn't ever walk into a fast food restaurant. It has been so many years, but this week I had to do that several times. And my God, was that an alienating experience. The kiosks and like the sign up for text notifications.
Please use our app, order online, yeah.
Oh, did I hate it? I feel this headline.
Deciphering the dilemma, the surprising impact QR code menus on diminishing customer loyalty. So this is interesting, though. This article talks about the horrors that you describe, but I read an article about this paper that said that restaurant productivity was up as a result of people getting in and out faster.
Let's make the miserable experience so bad that we can get more covers per day by running them away.
Yeah, that was the one upside for this. Now, at the same time, to give you an idea of the horrible dystopia, I was in Panera,
you're right.
Recently.
You got it.
And it just sounded wrong for some reason. Maybe I'm having a stroke. And they had I like hazelnut coffee, and they have the kiosk for hazelnut coffee. And they've changed the size. The size of a large now is 20 ounces instead of 24 ounces. When did that happen? But it was like 16 ounces or 20 ounces. And that's medium and large. It's just 4 ounces bigger. That's weird. So I got a large, But I didn't realize that until after I got the large one. I was like, wait a minute, something ain't right here. Anyway, they got the machine. You put it in the machine, and you tell it you got a large. It doesn't give you 20 ounces of fluid, and the cup is like still 24 ounces. But it doesn't give you 20 ounces of fluid. It doesn't even, it's maybe 16. And it's like, do you need any room for cream and sugar? And I'm like, no. And it doesn't fill it up all the way. And this is the dystopia that we're in now. It's like, I can't.
You paid for a 20-ounce coffee.
Yeah, I can't.
You have a 24-ounce cup, and it's really only 16 ounces of coffee.
And I can't pour my own. Like, it's pre-dispensing a certain amount because it's not going to let me fill it up. And that's horrifying. But also, gas stations did this. And so your state government has a thing where dudes come around to a gas station with like a 5-gallon bucket, and they dispense 5 gallons of gas to make sure that it's actually 5 gallons. Apparently we're going to have that for restaurants. This is my shrinkflated 20-ounce coffee is not even 20 ounces anymore.
That's assuming that our government cares about consumer protections anymore.
That sounds like the first group that should be dozed, right? It's like, the people that check to make sure the gas station is. But who's going to be the committee to make sure Panera is actually giving me 20 ounces of coffee?
We fired all those people.
It's insane. All of this is insane. When are people going to revolt?
Well, if you do revolt, maybe wait a little while to create that group chat, because this has not rolled out yet, but they have promised that eventually it will, and maybe it will offer some protection.
RCS messaging adds end-to-end encryption between Android and iOS devices. Apple promised to roll that out with an update, and they have. I'm wondering what the catch is. Law enforcement probably going to lose their mind.
I just assume it's not real.
That's just probably a safe
Yeah.
thing to do. And if you have a child in a public school, they are definitely being surveilled, and in astonishing ways, but that's not the worst of it, because we kind of assume that, right? But the thing that we're maybe not used to yet is that actively artificial intelligence is looking at everything they do and flagging any sort of independent thought.
Schools to use AI to monitor kids, hoping to prevent violence. Our investigation found security risks. It is literally the independent thought alarm button from The Simpsons. Remember that? That's like from 50 years ago. And it's like, no, stop thinking independently.
So they've got a couple of examples in here where it's like, okay, maybe that wasn't that great. The kid maybe needed some help there. Why does my boyfriend hit me? Okay, maybe there should be some
intervention there.
Yeah, someone should do something. But then a lot of gay stuff too. Like if you just express any kind of gay thoughts, that for some reason gets sent to your school administrators to be followed up with. And it's not just, so that's on the laptop that they assign you, but if you sign in on your own computer to the school's system, it installs that software.
Oh.
Yeah. And if you've ever gone and tried to get a quote on insurance, it's like immediately, it's really fast. They want to make that as little friction as possible. Just say, it's like the Apple thing, right? Just give me a button to say yes. Well, they might have cut some security corners.
Allstate insurance sued for delivering personal info on a platter in plain text to anyone who went looking for it. Basically, you could fill out a quote, and it's like, oh, are you this person? It's like, yeah, I sure am. And then they got more.
It was just the address.
Ooh.
It knew, Allstate knows everybody that's in the house, and they would just return all the information to you if you know the address. Which, like your Amazon driver, everybody knows your address. All the purchase of the house is public record. And we are, of course, in the age of the AI war, DeepSeek now, and now we got another one that we'll talk about later coming out from China. And boy, are they worried.
Anthropic CEO says spies are after $100 million AI secrets in a few lines of code. What are the few lines of code? Well, that's how they keep the model safe and controlled and aligned.
So he's looking for more control out of Washington, more help fighting the Chinese.
I kind of we talk about this kind of thing sometimes where it would be nice if when a company like Juniper or SolarWinds is targeted by a nation state and the government knows it, that they do a little bit more to give the IT team, an alert. And the reason they don't do that is because they don't want the adversary to know that they know. But at the same time, it's like the collateral damage is insane. And that's what this guy's basically saying. He's saying, he's like, we are probably being targeted by nation states. Are we supposed to just hire people to deal with that? Can we get some nation state help here? What's going on? Which is not unreasonable, but I don't know how, like, logistically how you would do that.
And one thing that we all have to worry about is no longer mattering. And this guy,
It's heavy.
he had a plan.
Developer convicted for kill switch code activated upon his termination. But he's going to appeal, so we'll see.
His name, I think his initials were like DL, and the name of the function was, is DL still in Active Directory?
It's a little. I mean, to be fair, it's clear code.
Yeah. Oh, he camel cased it. And here's something we just see every week at this point.
Microsoft admits that GitHub hosted malware that infected almost 1 million devices. They were hosting files that contained redirects that were controllable by the bad guys. So your security scan would scan your software, and it's like, oh, these are all just GitHub links. Those are okay. But the software would load the GitHub links to see where it was supposed to go from there, and it contained malware. And Microsoft didn't really care that the URLs that they were hosting contained malware. It was not, because they weren't actually hosting the malware. It was just redirects to where the malware was.
And this was interesting because every headline rolled out and they used that B word, the back door. And this company reached out and they were like, I don't think you guys understand what that is. Please don't print this. And they did go back and change it. But maybe still something to be concerned about.
Bleeping Computer's headline is undocumented commands found in Bluetooth chip used by 1 billion devices. So this is, if you could upload arbitrary software to this, then you could do things with the undocumented ability to run commands, which means that you could maybe do some really crazy stuff. Maybe you could build an undetectable backdoor, but that's not really what this is.
But you like that first step, you could do whatever else you wanted to.
Yeah.
Like the compromise comes before, and they're like, no, these are just debug, but we'll take them out. We promise.
Oops.
Maybe just be more careful about that. And here's a fun conspiracy theory, and you can imagine, this fella's mom is a little bit crushed by his death, and she is saying that there's some really fishy things going on. Interestingly, the same kind of fishy things that we saw in another very high-profile death.
Yeah.
In a jail.
It's weird. Murder conspiracy. I'm going to butcher his name. I'm so sorry. It's the OpenAI guy that died mysteriously, who was the whistleblower. Suchir Balaji. His mom claims that a pic from the day of his death, and claims several CCTV cameras stopped working mysteriously. So it's like, what's going on?
I think there was one like across the street at a business. There was an elevator, and maybe the lobby of the building where they found him. All just stopped working.
That's
really
crazy
weird.
how, just outages happen like that across buildings. It's insane.
Or it could be that they didn't stop working, but they tell her that they stopped working. Either way, this guy questioned power, and that the picture she's talking about, the CCTV camera footage she's talking about, he seems like he's in a pretty good mood.
Yeah.
I mean, it could have been that he's like, oh, I don't have to deal with anything tomorrow. Like maybe that's what put him in a good mood, but it seems a little questionable. Perhaps just an investigation. And this is terrifying because it's not, we know this is happening, but a lot of us who live in small towns might think, well, they're not going to target us. Who cares about us? They care.
Chinese hackers sat undetected in small Massachusetts power utility for months. State-sponsored Volt Typhoon hackers were poking around Littleton Electric Light and Power departments for at least 300 days before the FBI gave the utility a heads up.
Literally like Littleton, the smallest town imaginable.
You might be wondering why it's called Volt Typhoon. Remember Salt Typhoon? Well, it turns out the power company builds their infrastructure on cellular infrastructure and data connections and blah, blah, blah. And if you have access to the cellular network and you backdoor things, guess what? You can control that voltage switching utility that's just on the side of a hill out in the middle of rural nowhere.
Now, they weren't trying to control anything. They were carefully extracting all of the infrastructure plans and mapping the layout and learning how it all works, which is maybe more terrifying.
Yeah. again, that goes back to the whole like, hey, the FBI did give them a heads up, but
How long did they wait though?
300 plus days?
I mean, they probably didn't know like right away.
Well, if the FBI knows, all the other agencies know. They're the last to know. It's worrying. Very worrying. And also, we need more people that have this kind of expertise. And also, what the heck is going on with Juniper and Cisco? Like, they should be building products to help deal with this at affordable prices.
That's the problem. It's at affordable prices.
Maybe
Anyway.
that's commercial opportunity. Maybe we can. I heard Nvidia wasn't doing super well with like the Bluefield processors. Maybe we build an AI processor that's like, hey, this is unusual network traffic. What's going on with this? That'd be a lot of fun. Anyway,
Thoughts to consider. We will see you guys on Friday for Robot Nonsense.
so much nonsense.
Bye.